Today's episode of the Live, Q, or Die podcast brought to you by Tactical Distributors. Unpossible 15 gets you 15% off all this great stuff. A reversible coat, sweet ass t-shirt, and they just sent me these summer shorts. Oh my God. Can we get this out of here? We can. So, these shorts, they're breathable. The boys, they're cool as hell. They're short. They're not too short. They're not too long. They're not Daisy Dukes. They're not Dirty Dukes. They're just right. So, Unpossible 15 gets you 15% off flip-flops, bags, shirts, pants, everything you need. They got those panties. What are those? The tactical brief things. They're so comfortable, and your junk comes right out when you need to take a pee. Holla. Hot damn, Jay, it's good to be back.
I know. No one got my rap references when you weren't here, so
Yeah.
I was like I was talking to a wall every time I was speaking.
I appreciate me having to flush my goldfish when I came home. Like, how hard was it to sprinkle some food in there?
I did. I sprinkled all the food in because I knew you'd be gone for a few days.
That's how he died. All right. Well, Jay, we spent a couple weeks out in Wyoming, and not one true drone crash, despite your bullshit commentary. My man landed it in a tree, and thank God he wears spandex like Spider-Man. He scaled the tree, got the drone, no damage. And we continued to shoot incredible video sequences.
I didn't even know if it was true. I just heard a rumor, and that's all I could say.
I wasn't there, but my man owned it, so I think it's true. I think he landed at the top of the tree. But we had some elevation change there, and I think he hit his limit. Yeah. I don't know. Is that what happened? Yeah. All right, so today we have a special guest.
Ooh, two specials.
Are at 9 Club? They on 3 now? 3 have a special guest.
Yeah, there it is.
Our man, the best alias in the business, Tom Smith. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
Oh, man, it's so good to see you.
It's good to be here.
It's so good to see you, man. So Tom is a veteran of our armed forces. Works in the industry now, and we go back a few years. And I think most importantly, we'll get into all your other shit, but my man is the new official auctioneer of the Special Operations Care Fund charity. And I'm going to say you taking, what's our man?
Jeremy Morton.
Jeremy Morton, he's out. He's benched. He's like Jay when you fucked up in that other podcast and we had to bench you. Jeremy's benched because Special Operations Care Fund, so our man Dave Kramer and a couple other guys, Griff Griffin, Mr. Money, started it.
Those are all fake names, by the way.
Not as good as Tom Smith, though. but 100% pass-through. Nobody takes a penny from the money raised there. What a special group of guys.
Absolutely.
And a shout-out to, there's a whole bunch of benefactors that support that. But, you know, the Cathy family, Chick-fil-A, shout-out to them. They are always there spending dough, helping guys out. But it's a charity that we've supported since Dave started it. Dave Kramer, shout-out to him. He works at Magpul now and has devoted so much of his time and energy to that, and raised millions of dollars for special operations guys. And they do everything, which we've talked about a bunch of times, but marriage counseling, brain trauma, addiction, just everything there is that they can do to help guys in special operations where they need it. It's an incredible organization. So they do a couple, COVID, they just did a couple, but generally 3 or 4 live events a year where, you know, we donate product. Lots of great industry companies do. There's all kinds of awesome stuff. Like Caleb Cried usually donates some cool stuff. Lots of companies do. And it's auctioned off. And you being the special official, replacement. I mean, it's like you were like Bill Walton. I mean, you and I love basketball. So remember in the 80s, like Bill Walton, best sixth man. They win championship. He's sixth man of the year. You come in off the bench when Jeremy is like too busy to come.
He had to work. He had to work.
His boss was in the audience. He didn't have to do shit.
He technically was. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you do it, and I'm gonna say, not. What's the proper way to phrase this? You are not technically the most proficient auctioneer I've ever seen, but the most charming and by far the most effective. Because in one night of just some doodads that us industry people donate, raised almost $1 million that is straight pass through to the guys.
Right.
With you being the auctioneer. Let me tell you what this crazy son of a bitch did. So there's some fine, we'll say older lady there in the audience.
She was. After the auction was over.
Yeah.
Auction was over. I was back in the audience.
So it started back up once it was over. And she says, I think she
her husband.
Oh, it was her
Her
husband.
husband yelled out, I'll pay $5,000 for Tom's shirt.
So my man was wearing a hideous Tom Selleck shirt, a Hawaiian, kind of like the shit you wear. It had his lovely wife Christy's face on it.
Right,
didn't it?
So the center of all the flowers was Christy's face from our wedding.
So weird.
We got married in Vegas by Elvis at SHOT Show.
Well, now it makes
by the
more
way.
sense.
You know,
now it makes more sense.
We can go into the whole wedding later on because I did get married at SHOT Show. But she was in the middle with pink hair doing this. You know,
and they ended up paying $6,000 for
$6,000. So the gentleman yelled out, "I'll pay $5,000 for Tom's shirt," and I thought he was kidding. And the gentleman that may have been overserved at the table next to him said $5,500, and then somebody said $6,000. So I took the shirt off, as you saw. Gave her the shirt, and actually after the auction,
that's commitment.
It's commitment. They gave me a Stock F T-shirt to wear later, for the rest of the night. But I took it around and had everybody put call signs and stuff like that.
Oh.
Yeah. So she got it.
Kind of like her bottle.
Kind of like
the
bottle.
Yeah. So that's awesome. So to end the night, $6,000 for it. Well, with the exception of Christy's face, one of the ugliest shirts. Until today that I've seen.
I have a replacement shirt though. Christy got me another one. It's a different pattern with the same picture of her on it, and I thought about wearing it, but that was my mistake. You invite me back, I'll bring that shirt.
Yeah,
that's a deal. This is, we donated a fix that was fully kitted. Leupold donated a scope for it. We had an Atlas bipod on it. I think Jumbo Shrimp Silencer. London Bridge gave a little backpack case for it. So it's a nice setup. But what did it bring? $36,000?
Yeah. I thought it was like around there or more, I thought.
Yeah, I know, like, I even bid on it. Like it got to like $8 or $9 at stall for a second, and I was like, I'm standing there with Ivana. I don't think I was overserved, but that's up for debate. And I was like, I would pay that for that gun. She's like, you should. I said, you're right, I should. And I'm like, $10,000. But I was like, broke motherfucker compared to some of these guys. Yeah. But then when I realized like they weren't going to let me outbid them, I was like, okay. And then I bid again at like $19,000. And then I think I bid at $28,000. I mean, and now looking back at it, to buy one of my own guns, I could steal for free. But I did, and it went for like $36,000.
That's insane.
And then, you know what? And then happened at the end, like you got a honey badger.
I did.
So they wanted to remain anonymous, but they absolutely anonymously wanted to donate that and $15,000 and. Like, what a bunch of cool people.
Yeah.
So you end up getting, for your services that night, not only did you raise the most money ever, so Jeremy, just stay on the bench. Tom raised the most money ever in one night for SOC F, being the auctioneer. I think you're the whole reason it happened. And you got a Honey Badger pistol for your hard work. How great is that? That's the way America should work right there.
I think it was more the donors than me. I just happened to be facilitating a good time,
Oh, he was great. Like, you'd have two of these dudes who are probably billionaires, like, bidding against each other over something. Tom would be like, you're really going to let him, like, outbid you in front of your wife? It was really great. I think it's more effective than that normal. How do you do that other auction? What's that stuff that Jeremy does? How do you do
So
that?
Jeremy actually went to auctioneer school, and you actually have to warm up to do this
Oh,
because
yeah,
he can go,
fired off.
can I get 5? Can I get 5? Give me 5. Give me 5. Give me 5. And I can't do it. And that dude, I mean, he's got his cowboy hat on and everything. And I couldn't do it. Hawaiian shirt, Christy's face on it.
Effective. It's all
Very
I'm saying.
effective.
Sometimes you don't know till you throw. You
Right.
know, you gotta try. So it worked. But man, that was one of the best
Yeah.
events I've ever been to. There were over 50 guys from special operations there. Retired, active. It was great to see, and such a great response. And during COVID, I mean, it was just a great time.
The Special Operations Care Fund, I mean, they do. I know you guys have hit on it, but they do so much for so many people, and all the money, like you said, pass through.
Not a
It's
single person takes a paycheck.
Not
for that
nobody
place.
takes a
Nothing.
paycheck. All they pay for is internet, is website fees,
Right, yeah.
you know, and everything else is donated. It's just a great group of people being great Americans. you
Yeah,
know?
I mean, and donating so much time and energy, and people who are successful, and they're donating time and energy to this,
Right.
in such a selfless way, and yes. So then, I mean, for me, it's super captivating. They're willing to do that, and it makes me feel like Dave Kramer reminds me I'm not a good person.
Right. It's like I
he's-
need to go to church.
So, great organization. So a lot of times when we do it a ton, it happens a lot every month. People say, it's a year wait. And I'll say donate depending on what it is, $500 to Special Operations Care Fund.
Yeah, and they'll do it too.
Or $300. And they do it, send me the receipt in the DMs, and bam, you're next on the list.
Yeah.
And like, that's all it takes sometimes. All right, let's talk about a young Tom Smith. All right, so you grew up in northern Michigan. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, could you tell by the accent?
Yeah. Yeah, so what's your background and all?
So, depending on how deep you want to go,
Let's go back childhood.
I have
because I want to start with childhood because I
okay.
got some questions for you.
So I grew up in a little town called Dardanelle, Arkansas.
I've never heard of it.
Sounds made up
Well,
too.
we
just like your
have
name.
we have a couple of claims to fame. One is me. That's a joke. Nobody knows me.
Yeah.
Two
Hilarious.
is I don't know if y'all Senator Tom Cotton.
Oh, yeah.
He's from my hometown.
Oh, he is?
And like my cousin was best friends with his sister and stuff like that. And then golfer John Daly. We all
Are you?
Yeah.
That's something to be proud of.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
Cotton. Okay. Whatever. John Daly.
John Daly.
Yeah. You got the best golfer.
I wish I could play golf, but
I mean, y'all got the best golfer, right? There,
we do.
John Daly. Man.
Absolutely, we do. Because he likes to get down, man.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's the reason he's not golf king of the world.
Right. It's 'cause he
But-
likes to get down, man.
But he did okay.
Right. Yeah, he made it, man. He made it.
Yeah.
He's still making it.
Yeah.
Doing it up. I'm
His-
jealous
his
of his
own way.
pants. Yeah. Yeah.
Did it his own way.
Yeah.
What a wild man.
So I played basketball all through high school. Loved playing basketball. Ended up taking, out of all things, a cross country scholarship to Arkansas Little Rock. I did one semester. Figured out that I'm not really cut out for college, and I need some discipline. So I joined the Army. I actually had a ROTC scholarship, and I could have been an officer, and then realized that
You're not a dickhead.
I'm not
Yeah.
cut out for that either. You know,
Yeah.
and
It's a lot of rules.
a lot of rules and stuff. And then I joined the Army.
Your family, you military history.
So like all my granddad on my father's side, World War II, and then on my mother's side, they were all Seabees and Marines in World War II, like
Yeah.
island hopping. But we cut out the generation, everybody else like, hey, we're not. They were doing other things, and then I always had, man, I played G.I. Joes and stuff like that. I was always really interested in I consider myself a patriot, love
Yeah.
my country,
Yeah.
and the Army was always just a natural fit for me. And when it was time to gather some discipline, then I realized, like, hey, that's going to be a good thing for you.
Well, that's pretty good self-awareness.
Yeah.
Why the Army and not the Marines?
I
mean,
told
that
you
was your
yesterday,
family.
that was a lot of pull-ups. Can you see these arms, man? I'm no good at pull-ups. I wanted to be, and it's the cadence, I wanted to be an airborne ranger. and they
Oh, like
don't
the
have those
song.
in Marine Corps. So
No.
you know, I became an airborne ranger. I took the long road to do that, but you know, I eventually did.
So Tom won Best Ranger.
I mean, if you're a part of something, you want to be the best at it, you know, and
A certain,
somebody,
a certain group of people do.
right. And I didn't think that I saw some of these guys that competed. I was like, man, there's no way I could compete with those guys. I'm 25-year-old kid. And some of the guy, my partner said, hey man, you're going to be the pack mule. Best Rangers,
Yeah.
2-man team. So my partner, he had competed 3 times in the 82nd. So there's a lot of strategy that goes into that competition. You know, there's certain weighted events. You get certain points for them. Well, I'm a kid. I don't know anything about that. He'd say, put this in your ruck and follow me. Okay. And that's what I would do. I mean, I was physically fit. Now everybody on my team in 98, and when I say on my team, I mean from my unit and everything, had eventually won. I mean, we had
really?
a coach named Eric White, who may be watching this. He's a 3-gun IPSC shooter, and he had won. And I mean, we trained. We were professional athletes for about 3 months, but everybody that was on that team eventually won the competition.
Damn.
Yeah, I mean,
I
it was
didn't know that.
some strategy. I mean, it was some strong guys. You know,
Yeah.
a couple of them went to Bragg. A couple of them went to SF.
Well,
A couple of them became officers.
I mean,
Yeah,
Scottie Pippen might not have been as good as he was. He hadn't played with Michael Jordan.
that's it, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what year did you win that?
98.
I was 3 years old.
I was a staff sergeant. I was 25.
3 years old.
Thought I knew everything about everything, man.
Well, you did once you won that. So how long were you at Ranger Battalion?
So I went from. So I'll back up. I wanted to be an airborne ranger, but I didn't really know how this worked. So my recruiter goes, "You're going to need infantry training to go be a ranger." Okay, we'll send you to Hawaii for 3 years. I'm going. I looked out the window in Little Rock, Arkansas. It was an ice storm. I was like, 3 years in Hawaii? Heck yeah, man, I'll go.
Doesn't sound bad.
I didn't realize that there was an actual ranger regiment. So I went to ranger school from there, and when I re-enlisted, I wanted to go to the regiment. They wouldn't take me because I was a promotable specialist. I said, well, I'll just take away the promotable status. And they go, no, you can't do that. So I go to RTB,
Ugh.
worked at ranger school, and I honestly believe that had I not won the competition, I wouldn't even have gotten the opportunity to go to rope.
Oh,
Really?
So were
Yeah.
you were tabbed before you were in regiment?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I came as a dirty import and went to Bravo Company, 3rd Battalion, and was a squad leader, a platoon sergeant, and actually I had to work in the S5 while I was waiting on the platoon. I had to work there for about 9 months, and 9/11 happened. 9/11 happened, and
9/11 happened when you were still a Ranger.
So when I was in the S5 shop, and I'm like, I'm not a shooter right now. This
Yeah.
is the biggest.
Did you think you were going to miss the war?
Yeah. Well,
Because this is all coming to something I want to talk about. Like, I believe selfishly, and because
Right.
we're old, that we got to see the golden era of basketball with Jordan, Bird, Magic Johnson.
we did.
And-
we did.
Exactly. And if you were in the armed services, like we talked about, we have friends and family members who in the 80s and then after the first Gulf War, that 3 months,
Right.
were devoted their lives to it, grew up wanting to be what you were, and they get there and you don't fight anyone for a decade.
Right.
It's like whether you're an F-16 pilot, all you're doing is training, and then they get out. They get out. Whether they retire, they just get out and take other careers, become Delta pilots or
Right.
whatever, and flying commercial. And then all of a sudden, 9/11 happened. So for guys our age, it's if you wanted to be in the military, this was the time to do
Yeah,
it.
because I told you yesterday, I was getting out of the Army. I was going to be a professional triathlete. I was going to go back to college and, work in the human performance industry somewhere. And then 9/11 happened. I go, well, hey, this is what I've been looking for the whole time. And I stayed in,
the greatest time in the history of the world, well, the modern world, definitely, to, be an American and us be at war, like.
Yeah, there was a lot of support.
Yeah.
It seems like
a lot
that was
of support.
It seems like that was a fairly common thing too, of guys like just about to get out or even got out. Like I heard Mike Glover say he got out like the first week of September and he was in the reserves. 9/11 happens and he's like, well, now I got to go back. Like I got to get back in. This is what I want to do.
Because we're juniors and seniors in high school when the first Gulf War happens.
Right.
And so then that happens. It's like, but it was very short lived, and then there's nothing. But you could always tell, like it was boiling.
It was the if you weren't in 7th Special Forces Group doing drug, counter drug operations and stuff in South America, you weren't really doing anything.
Yeah, that was all there. That's all there really was going on then. Some stuff like Eastern Europe occasionally, but all that stuff was very short too, like Bosnia and all that.
Right.
A lot of weird time to be in.
We had guys that were re-enlisting. They had no equipment. They were so deep into getting out of the Army. They had cleared CIF, had no equipment, and I've watched because we were the first ones to go. We went over in October.
And you were still a Ranger.
I was still a Ranger.
When 9/11
when 9/11 happened.
So when you deployed, you were still a Ranger.
I was still a Ranger. I was still a Ranger for another 2 years after that. I think maybe a year. 01, I left in 03. So we had like a lieutenant go out behind the battalion headquarters and gather like 20 privates or E4s, E5s from around the battalion, and they all raised their hand. I do solemnly swear, and re-enlisted them. And then they went and got them equipment, and then we bounced. And I saw a couple of them later on, and like they're Green Berets and stuff like that, man. But yeah, that's what went down. It's like we're going, okay, well, I'm not getting out of the Army now,
Yeah, it is interesting. You train. It's like to go back to pro sports. Like if you think about, guys who are on teams, like if Michael Jordan had never gotten Scottie Pippen. Greatest basketball player, and my heart's with Larry Bird, but Michael Jordan's the greatest basketball player ever. Yeah, can you imagine if he had never gotten Scottie Pippen, never won a championship?
Right.
Like, it's the same thing. Like, you're in the military,
Barry Sanders,
and nothing happens.
It's like Barry Sanders, probably one of the best tailbacks ever. Never. Come on, the Lions are terrible.
Yeah, and he wouldn't leave, and then he's just like Seinfeld,
he's loyal.
Like I'm done.
Yeah, he's loyal.
So it seems like the timeline just happened to work out perfectly for you then. If you said you were at regiment for around till 2003 or whatever, and that's when everything really started kicking off.
Right.
So it seems like it worked out.
Yeah.
See, our generation. You
it
guys,
worked out.
You kids suck.
Yeah,
Us. We got we got the Lakers, the Celtics, then the Bulls and the Pistons.
Yeah.
And we get war. You guys, what y'all got? Y'all got
Gen X, man.
Hipsters.
Gen X. My wife all the time is like, "Hey, man, Gen X. We hate everybody anyway." So,
okay. So what happens then?
So, I had to make a decision.
Well, how many deployments as a Ranger?
As a Ranger,
after
I did
9/11?
two. I did 2. So we did the initial invasion.
Yep.
And then came home, and then went back, and. By that time, it was like it was a decision time. So I was either going to go be a first sergeant or something like that, or I could, go try out for other units. I tried out for other units, and I went there and stayed at Bragg from 03 until I retired in 16.
Oh, yeah, that's a long career.
Yeah. I loved it. Loved every minute of it.
And I can't. What a great time to be there if you're into it.
Yeah.
Because it's not just, as me, because that was probably like my tenure within those organizations too. And from my side, on the vendor side, the development of small arms products, like ammunition, projectiles, optics. Yeah,
well, we didn't know what we didn't
know.
Yeah. There were so many things that we made do with the best we had, and then once we identified needs and there was funding, the innovation in the military just skyrocketed. We were shooting iron sights, and when I was a Ranger, it was a big deal because we had ACOGs. or
I remember
you know,
when that came about.
Yeah, and we were using night vision and stuff like that. And then after 9/11, everybody innovated and you know.
Yeah, once the funding became available,
Right.
and some of the units like you were in, and it wasn't really, where everything. It's the thing. From my standpoint, being in industry, I appreciate everyone that serves, but the big Army contracts and all that are long and it's very kind
Right.
of basic stuff, like it just doesn't interest me at all. Like I would rather sell real estate or something. I'm just not interested. But once we get to the specialized units and there's funding available and you're wanting to do new things and things that haven't been done and innovate and like, hey, in cameras they have this sort of glass, and how do we get it into a rifle scope because we need to identify targets at 1,000
Right.
yards or 1,500 or 2,000 meters. Like, how do we do these things?
Right.
And that's the stuff I
And then-
always
and then
love.
once,
like
you
new
know,
capabilities.
What's supposed to happen is once those specialized units have this technology, then it's supposed to kind of get out to the rest of
Yeah,
the
trickle
military,
down, yeah.
and sometimes it does, and sometimes it's a little bit too soft specific. That's hard to say sometimes.
South Pacific.
Soft
Yeah.
specific.
South
Yeah,
Pacific.
right.
The South Pacific. So we were no, but I mean, I think you're right. Like, because there's some of the things that I was asked to work on within these units, and I'm like, because for me, it's always like talking about being a patriot. Like, I always want to try to do my part. It's like my son. He asked me when he was young because his entire life he's been exposed to you guys.
Right.
Like from the time he was born. You guys are at my farm. We're working on stuff. So to him, it's nothing. Like these guys he grew up with, and he's like, I remember he's like 6 years old, 7, 8. One time he's like, why weren't you in the Army? And I'm like, well, man, I don't know. Like maybe I should. But I was like, I think maybe like this was my path, and I can serve better, like running a team that supports these guys with product.
Right.
Because I'm really passionate about innovation.
Right.
And I really
Because I'm not
love-
going to do it. I'm gonna ask guys like you. You know
Well,
what I mean?
yeah.
Because I'm not innovative.
And I think it is like a skill set, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh, of course, I would have loved to have done that. But it's like, it's the path I chose, and I'm like a passion about it. And I think we're able to help make a difference in some way.
Absolutely.
It's like working with these guys, but it's like, I want to give them the best stuff and the innovative products. But it has been interesting for me. But it's also like I run a business, so it's always been, I'm always serving like, 3 different things. It's like I want to help the military, I want to own my own stuff, and then the commercial market. And it's like most of the stuff, and I've said on other podcasts, it's like whether you're shooting bad guys, you're shooting a deer, that's not 100% crossover, but there is a lot.
Yeah.
And it's like there are things for the military, and like when you talk about even within the military, it's like there are some things that are special operations specific that doesn't really translate to big Army very well. And there's some things there that you guys would do. Some of the things we worked on, and a lot of things I just wouldn't work on it because there was no, like I'm not a billionaire. I wasn't like,
Right.
I'm not working off a trust fund, so it didn't translate to the commercial market. So it didn't make sense for me to really work on
Right.
without taking like huge amounts of funding. And it's like, well, maybe that's not our project. But, I like to think, I was really early in my career for the first, hopefully it's the first half, had dedicated my life to silencers. And I was very fascinated by
Right.
that. And, I know like your organization, when I got there, very few silencers were used.
Right.
You
We
know,
didn't do it.
Yeah, it just wasn't. Like that was
The technology just was not there.
It wasn't.
Of what we needed. It would rattle around, or and your zero shift was just ridiculous.
Yeah. And some of that, and I've said it before, but it's like, well, the requirements at the time when the big Army writes the requirements, it's for the average soldier,
Right.
and that doesn't really always translate to, like just the tip,
Right.
as we like to say, and so trying to innovate those things and make a product that's useful, that'll work, and there's when you go to these small groups, there aren't very many companies that are ever going to be able to justify doing something just for you guys.
No.
But
because it's so small.
Yeah.
It's so small.
it's tough, but if you pick the right things and it translates to a bigger market, then that's something. Because I learned so much and was just almost gifted so much from your unit in particular. It's we could develop product and it would be exposed to testing that I could never afford,
Right.
and I would get all of that feedback. So that was very, that was very much worth it for me, because then I could take all of this testing and all this feedback that I could never pay for, and then I got it for free is the way I looked at it, and then I could put that technology into our commercial line of products, and to the benefit of your organization. You guys love that, because then it's like, well, it'll continue to be supported, and I'll continue to want to do these things. And there are lots of companies like mine that are in the industry that have benefited from that organization, and not just yours, but in other branches of the military, similar organizations that really drive technology. And each group, from my standpoint, is slightly different and has a little bit of a different focus, and you do different things with each one. And it's been very interesting for me, and I feel very fortunate that, I found a passion and have been in this industry. And then there's been so much attention paid and focus on groups like you were in, to achieve certain things overseas, and the money was there to develop new product and innovation.
Right.
Yeah, everything. Like, we're looking at the MSR rifle over there, and
Yeah. I remember when we first started developing that. I wasn't up in the shop then, but what we had was Vietnam era technology.
yeah,
And it was like, hey, we can do better. You understand there are things out there in the civilian market. There are people out there doing great things. Why don't we ask them, what do we want? And let's ask them if they can make it.
Yeah. It became a really interesting time for me, because what I loved was the attitude. Always, for a long time I had a close relationship with your group, and it was, well, just tell us what you're trying to do, and let us tell you what we think we can do to support that. Like, don't like tell us what to make. Like, that's the mistake.
Yeah.
And yeah, your group and, John Clements, who was on the podcast, his group, they very receptive to all that. And it's like, let us go and try and do some things that'll achieve.
Because if I tell you what to do, well, I just stopped your creativity.
The natural.
But if I say, hey man, I want the widget to do this. Well, now Kevin Brittingham's mind can go crazy and develop all kinds of things that maybe we didn't even we didn't know we wanted.
Yeah, that's always the hope, because I think, not necessarily you, but some of the guys that were your teammates, and there's the drinking game if I touch the mic.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Yeah. Someone in the comments said new drinking game. Drink every time Kevin touches his mic stand. So
yeah, and I think that's the right approach. But it's hard. Like, I've tried to deal with a couple big Army things, and what?
touch the mic.
Yeah. This should be for the people at home.
Right. We're not doing that.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, when I see, we're making it for the average person in the military, and it's like, I'm not in this for money or to make friends.
Right.
Like, I love the innovation. But thinking about, some of your teammates and friends of ours that were, snipers from Ranger Battalion.
Right.
And then and they're using this scope,
Yeah.
They grew up using this Leupold Mark IV fixed 10 power
and
mill dot.
They could deal some death with that thing, man. But they trained with it all the time.
All the time.
Right.
And then, like, the innovation in optics
Absolutely.
that happened as a result of 9/11. Oh my God! In the commercial market, we're just like reaping the benefits of it. But variable power. Horus reticle, lit reticles, like just all these things. And the idea of coming up with better glass and light transmission and being able to identify targets at longer range and lower light benefits everyone. You're redneck, you like to hunt. I live to hunt.
Yeah.
And it's like all that shit benefits me now every time I go to hunt.
Right.
So
the first time I saw Horus reticle, I was still in the Rangers, and it was still those guys that, and we look through that thing and go,
What is all
that is busy. I can't see anything. And then once we started using it, I mean, I couldn't imagine just going back to MilDots.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
I
now
couldn't
try to
do
use it without it.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I mean, yeah, you got wind. You're hanging out in space
Right,
here.
right,
Like,
man.
yeah, maybe I'll make
looks
that
right.
shot.
Yeah. And
No.
and you know what we found, because back in the day we're shooting on ranges and stuff like that, and we'll just dial in some wind, we'll dial in some elevation. Well, here's the thing. People move. On the battlefield, people move, and you don't have time to dial in anything. So that Horus reticle just, I mean, animals move when you're hunting.
Yeah.
You know. So
But I'm sure more in combat. I remember asking one of y'all snipers one time, and we were working on, well, I won't even say it, but we were working on something to sort of measure things and identify targets.
Rulers.
Kind of. and I said, well, you know, the average man's shoulders is this width. Why don't we use that? And he's like, it's funny when you start shooting at people, they don't just stand up in front of you like that. He's like,
weird how that works.
because it was like a thing, like not measuring the shoulders, measuring heads. And I'm like, that doesn't seem like the right thing to measure. And he's like, yeah, funny how people like run for cover when you start shooting at them, but they stick their heads out. We can measure it that way. I was like, oh, you know, and like
Yeah.
shit like that never occurs. And it was just that kind of working together when, you know, another group, not the one you were in, but we were working on some stuff with them, and we're trying to make flash hiders and silencers and some different things for them. And we were, they brought a lot of their people to my farm, and we're going over different scenarios. And it turns out this was for a big operation, and they probably didn't. Well, they probably knew it. I definitely didn't know it at the time, what they were doing. But they were asking me questions, and we're working through things, and we're working through different scenarios they had been in. And it's like, well, what are the benefits and what are you looking for? And it's like, well, we pretty much want to know if anyone else is shooting. Like,
Right.
You know, that we don't need the quietest. We don't need this. We just need to know, like visually and audibly, if it's someone else other than our guy
Right.
shooting.
Right.
And when they explained it to me, it's like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Okay. You know, well,
Right.
now I understand, and now we can develop a product that
Muzzle
really
flash,
suits your
muzzle
needs.
flash, and I need it to be accurate. Hide that muzzle flash, and it needs to sound different than everybody else on the battlefield.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you how it's happened in the past. Pow. I think somebody's shooting at us.
Yeah.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, not like in the movies.
Right.
Yeah.
There's technology out there, and I will tell you that I was some kind of like, there's probably still calluses on my knuckles from them dragging it around, because I was always the guy that if I have a piece of equipment that works for me and I'm trained on it, why am I going to get rid of it? To the point like
It's kind of a big army in the Rangers.
the
there.
army the arms room would come down like, hey bro, you're the last dude that still has this piece of equipment. And I'm going, yeah, I use it every day. It's the best. And they said, we're 3 gens past that. And I'm like, are you really taking this from me right now? Like, yes, go get your new piece of equipment. Well, the new piece of equipment was amazing. It was just, I didn't want to have to figure something else out that I was very well trained on. But then you'd get the new piece of equipment and go, well, you're kind of a dumbass for not getting
Yeah.
this 2 years ago,
It's
man.
it's like me with a new phone. Oh, it's
right.
like 3 generations old
Yeah.
before I get a new one. And I'm like,
Right.
oh god, I should have done this.
Yeah.
Well, let's start. Let's bring it down.
Okay.
What's the worst thing about being deployed? What are the 3 worst things?
Well, come on, man. You can't put me on the spot with
I'm putting
3.
you on the
I'm
spot.
Gonna, with 3?
3.
Come on.
You don't have to say their names.
The absolutely worst for me was always being away from the kids.
Yeah.
You know, the second is like, you don't realize it until you're back. So my wife is, you know, she's 8 years younger than me, and she would tell me like, I was doing this and I was doing this and I was having a good time. So you kind of miss how the United States is evolving with certain things. And I'm going, yeah, I was deployed. So now it's a joke with
Yeah,
us.
I mean, in those places, obviously, it's a slower pace. Like,
Right.
nothing happens in Iraq.
Well, you know, like
Quickly.
trends that the United States. Well, it's not like I'm going to a bar in Iraq. You know, I'm not going to do that. So things that would happen, music or whatever. I'm like, yeah, I kind of missed some of the evolution of social society.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, our culture.
You missed out on NSYNC and Backstreet Boys.
I
Sucks,
mean,
man.
TikTok.
Honestly, I did, but and those are the two things that I could say like the kids were absolutely the biggest
It's a
biggest
tough one,
piece,
yeah.
and then then just kind of missing, hey, I went to see this band. I'm like, I don't even know who that is because they were a flash in the pan, and I never heard of them if they weren't on
Yeah.
AFN.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what are some of the good times?
Well, every day was a good time. Like just the dudes you deployed with, and just laughing and joking and making a good deal out of a bad situation.
you got a great personality for it.
Well, the thing is like everybody, like all the dudes you're with, they have, you kind of develop that personality. You can either be an asshole, and dudes that are watching this will be like, yeah, Tom was an asshole a lot. Like, yeah, but we all were. But I love just sitting there bullshitting with guys, and some of that, everybody being an asshole to one another, it kind of kept everybody sharp.
Yeah.
Because I would call you out for you messing up. I would call you out, and it wouldn't be nice, which kept everybody sharp in my mind. And I could be messed up, probably am, but it kept
There's nobody does that job that's normal.
right, man. But it kept, in my mind, it kept everybody sharp because they knew I was watching. In turn, I knew everybody was waiting on me to mess up, so it kept me sharp. And we worked hard, and there was a lot involved, but we loved one another, and we'd do anything in the world. That guy could piss me off in a second, but don't cross that guy because you're gonna have to mess with
Same
with
fraternity.
everyone. Right, man.
Like me and Hours North.
right.
Like Jay, he drives me crazy. I want to strangle him. You fuck with him like his own.
How could you be mad at him? Man?
Oh
Look
my
at that
God.
guy.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Let me tell you the way.
Here we go.
No, so it's crashing a fucking drone. God
Yeah.
damn it. But now I blame Thomas more angry at him. He should know
Doesn't
better.
bother me. Well, my question, like, by the time you get to these units, I figure you're fairly into your career. You are already in Ranger Regiment, like you're already established. Is there still the new guy shit once you get, like, I would imagine so, but is it different?
Yes.
But is it different?
He's harder.
I'm
there.
gonna tell you what, man. You are always the new guy. It doesn't matter that Genghis Khan could walk through the door and like, Cherry, like new guy, hey, go whatever. But I mean, absolutely. But it's a more professional new guy thing because we know that you hey man, you've been through all this. You've been tried and tested, but there's always going to be the new guy. And I'll tell you what, there are new guys that were so phenomenal, just great guys. I'm in charge of them going, man, I wish I was more like that guy. He was super squared away, man. And really it would be that way. Just these guys are phenomenal people. And
that level you encounter a lot of people
absolutely,
that are
man.
so exceptional. It's probably anything. Like if Michael Jordan had not been a professional basketball player, he'd probably be great at like 20 other things.
Baseball.
Just, if
he needed more practice.
If he'd devoted his life to it, he'd probably be one of the, like Bo Jackson.
Yeah.
Like could have done anything in the world.
Yeah.
And I think in my experience, like looking at your organization and knowing a lot of people and then knowing families, because, I spent a lot of time there and knew a lot of the guys and a lot of the families. And it's like, oh, well, his brother plays in the NFL.
Right.
Like, it's just, if they had not done that, they would have been exceptional at something else.
And it's cliche, and we talked about it yesterday. You never had to work so hard to be average. I knew guys that were professional, like no joke, got paid to do triathlons. I know guys that were on the cover of Runner's World. I know guys.
Well, Yeah, I mean, a guy in your unit that ultra marathoner
Right.
like
They had to
holds
change-
100-mile records.
They
and
had to change
24-hour
the
records.
Death Valley race route because nobody was ever going to beat Mike's record ever. It was never
I
going
feel
to be
like I
touched.
just heard
man.
him talk about recently.
Yeah.
He's got a big old beard now and stuff.
Oh, yeah,
He's-
man.
And he's just, but that's
The
another
little
thing.
angry dude.
Yeah,
Exactly.
just a little
I would
dude
tell
that
you
can.
what, that dude.
He would run a marathon to warm up to run a
So-
100-mile race.
So what he
Like,
used to do is
he's an alien.
He lived in Vass, North Carolina, and I'm going to say that was about 24 or 25 miles away from the building. And I would come in and he would have 3 bottles of water with electrolyte powder in it, and it would be sitting on my team room table. And when I saw those bottles of water, I would get it, whether I was on my truck or my motorcycle, there were certain places I would drop that water off. And because that was just the sign that Mike was running home and he needed water resupply along the route. And I would just drop it and he would run home.
Yeah, he would know.
In July in North Carolina, man.
He's just a little country guy. too, yeah.
He would run 100-mile races and then run 20 miles home.
yeah.
Just because.
And he was a solid guy. I mean, just a solid dude.
I mean, so many.
We had dudes that tried out for the NFL, got called up 2 times to try out for the Dolphins, and I asked him, I go, so I was a new guy trying to build rapport, and he had like a can of Copenhagen in his mouth.
Is this Mac?
No, Jimmy.
Oh.
And so he goes, he was defensive end for University of Arizona. He goes, I said, so I heard you tried out for the Dolphins. I'm just trying to be the new guy. And he goes, yeah. And that was it. Because he has a very dry sense of humor, right? I like he dry sense of humor. He thinks he's hilarious. I think he's hilarious. And I said, so what happened? He goes, you see where the fuck I am, don't you? Right? I go, but what happened? He goes, well, everybody was bigger than me and faster than me, but, I had the guts. Right? Man, he was joking the whole time,
I don't even know that's a joke. You think about, like, within your organization.
Yeah.
That's probably not an exaggeration. I mean, I'm not saying that everybody was bigger and faster, but having the guts. Like,
he did.
Yeah, there's probably not too many people within your organization that did not have the guts to do something.
Well, even the bigger, faster thing, like everyone that, granted, like obviously you guys know exponentially more dudes that are high-speed dudes, but like every high-speed dude I've met for the most part is not the superhero, superimposing guy that you think of. They're just regular looking dudes.
I
and they're
mean,
just way
a
tougher
guy
than all
that's
of
a
us.
friend of ours that it was, he and his brother both studs within the organization.
Yeah.
And came back from probably the most horrific getting fucked up of anyone ever.
He ate a lot of bullets.
And then went back and did incredible things just to be able to justify being deployed again, and went and did that.
Mm-hmm.
And because I think just on one arm he had 21 surgeries.
Yeah.
It's insane.
21 surgeries on one arm, and then was in his 40s and went back and kicked ass. And it's like, oh my God, you talk about a tough son of a bitch.
Yeah.
And
That's
you wouldn't
straight
look
up.
at it because, there's all types. There's like the dudes that look like, freaking silverbacks, and there's the little
there's me.
dudes. There's him, and then there's guys that weigh 135 pounds that you think, oh, I'd slap that guy into submission. It's
you
like,
think.
oh, not on your best day, man.
Yeah,
You
man.
think.
So,
But that's
yeah.
literally what it is. It's just they're just a different level of tough. Like we talked about it with John Clements. Like Mike Day got shot 27 times or whatever, and walked himself to the helicopter. Like,
or Steven and John's group in Operation Anaconda got shot in the leg, like lost half his leg, got a prosthetic, went back and deployed.
Yeah.
Like,
And I know a couple of guys that were deploying with prosthetics.
Yeah.
One was a Ranger,
and to me, like, I mean, I have no idea because I'm a huge wuss and wasn't born with that kind of disability. But if you're born, let's say, without half a leg and you learn to do it, you don't know any different. But if you are in combat and you are shot in the leg and you lose half your leg, going back to combat,
Yeah.
psychologically, that's a different breed of person right there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a different breed of person.
There's some dudes that I mean, the mental toughness on some of these guys, and some of it, it's all mental toughness, but it's going, hey man, I won't let somebody beat me, and I'm not going to let the guys to my left and right down. That you know, that's at the end of the day, like, hey man, we've got a mission, and I don't want something to happen to my mate because I wasn't there.
And I'm sure that's the structure and that's kind of the brainwashing because, I mean, that's what's going to be successful. You know, you think in regular life, like the things that mothers do for their children to save them, lift a car,
Right.
you know, to save their kids. And it's kind of the same mentality. Yeah. Well, what are some memorable things? Like, let's say deployments. Interesting, memorable things.
Yeah,
you don't have to talk about like stealing rugs or anything.
So
we
I
don't need to know about stealing rugs from embassies. So let's.
So we were talking yesterday. I made a joke that I was going to write a book. I'm not writing a book.
You're not. You weren't in the Navy. I don't think you're allowed to.
I'll mess with my Navy brethren. Like, I'm not writing a book. But I said the book would be about, no joke, the funniest things I've seen overseas, and it would take a book.
The
it
stories.
literally would. Take
I mean, I could write a book on the stories that I've heard from you guys.
Right.
Oh my god!
And I would go to us. It would be the funniest thing you've ever heard in your life, and to the American public, it'd be
what
like,
is this?
it'd be terrifying.
Oh, yeah.
Because it'd be like, are you serious? This is the best we've got. These are the best dudes we've got. And the name of the book was Just the Tip of the Spear.
You know, I mean, I think, you know, and I said it to you yesterday, it's something I learned when I was probably like 30 working with you guys. It's like all the dudes, no matter what they're doing, they're just regular dudes in their day, you know, their regular life. It's like, you have kids, you got a woman that's nagging you, you got, you know, some asshole mother-in-law, you got this kid's been a pain in the ass, you grew up skateboarding, you know, loving motocross, you ride by, like, it's all like, you're just dudes, you're just like really good at this thing, you know, and it's been pretty interesting, like, seeing it, and like, I see it, but I think most people on the outside, it's like, oh, you know, it's like these guys are cyborgs or something. No, it's like they're dudes.
They're husbands, fathers.
When they're home, they're taking their kids to kindergarten.
Man.
They're doing all the stuff. Like it's just a thing.
So my wife, so we met when I was up in the gun shop, right? So I was done deploying and this, that, and the other, and she kind of caught me on the back end of everything, and she goes, specifically Rangers, but some of the other unit guys. She goes, I mean, when y'all get together, y'all turn into the biggest assholes on the planet because we're just busting each other out. And she goes, it ekes over my way, and I get it. I don't like it, but it's kind of funny. I was like, because we think we're funny. I was like, we don't think we're assholes. We just think we're the funniest dudes on the planet, you know. So.
Well, I mean, I think within your organization, it's kind of interesting because, you know, from a judgmental asshole outsider, like the big army is necessary, and it's a lot of social refugees, meaning
right.
But it's very judgmental for me to say, but I think it's like at 18, some people are having to make life decisions.
Right.
And probably most men shouldn't make life decisions until they're like 40.
I'm 48. I still make poor life decisions.
I know.
Man.
But, you know, doing that, and then, you know, you get some guys that are exceptional and they continue to rise up, and you get like SF, and you got SOCOM, and you got the, you know, the units within that. And like I see that, and it's like, well, you know, it's this giant organization that accepts this wide range of people, and then you need this 1% to go and do this one thing.
Yeah.
So it was interesting to me. And so when I hear it and see it and, you know, been part of some of these things, it's like, you know, I get it. I can't imagine. It'd be like, you know, if Q were SIG, you know, and we had 2,000 people. You got some all-stars, you know,
right.
You got some guys from your old unit, they're all-stars. It'd be great anything they do. And you got some guys that barely get a job. I mean, it's like runs a gamut. So you get like all the all-stars together and you're like, God dang, can you believe these fucking idiots?
Right.
I mean, yeah, I get it. It's no surprise.
Yeah. And I'm gonna tell you, I mean, I miss and there's a guy and he was my team sergeant and I won't say his name, but he left the team for a little bit to go you've got to leave, not necessarily the organization, but if you're moving up, you have to leave for a little bit and come back to take that next position, but you stay in the building, you're doing things. And what he said, and it didn't click to me until I retired, that what he missed the most on being on a team is loading magazines. So
Sitting around a table.
we're just sitting around the table bullshitting, talking
loading
about
mags.
who shot best on the last iteration and stuff like that. And he goes, I just miss sitting there loading magazines, you know?
You know what I remember is, so I spent a lot of time at y'all's place,
Yeah.
and I would get to go on the range and do some shooting, and I got some pretty good stories. And I don't know, I'll tell them if you want to edit them out, we will.
We'll figure it out. Man.
So I was told one time I was asked to do something special for a silencer for a handgun, and there was a little fella in charge of the unit at the time,
Yep.
who was very serious. And I get there, and we did these for them. And, he's a badass. Like, I utmost respect for him, and I like him a lot as a person.
Absolutely.
But he was very fucking serious.
Very serious.
And he's like, so we're on the range shooting, and he pulls up in, like, a little Blazer. It's like, Brittingham. Drive. Okay. And, it's like 100 meters wide, and there's targets all. And he's like, I want you to drive, and he's like talking to me, like in acronyms and shit, like I'm in y'all's. I'm like, I don't fucking know what you're saying. And he's like, 10 meters from the target's parallel, 20 miles an hour drive. Like, all right. And so passenger side on the targets, he's like, ding, 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 ding,
Yeah.
ding, 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 reload, ding, 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 ding. He's like, all right, U-turn, other side, 10 meters on your side from the target.
So he's shooting across.
Across you.
Yeah.
All right, spoiler alert. I was fucking getting to it. Jesus Christ. I'm the storyteller.
I've seen this play out.
But yeah, okay, so you know it. But I'm not one of you guys. He's like, I want you to lean your seat back. And I do. And he's like, scoot back a little bit. I'm like, all right. He's like, do not move. Do not lean forward. I'm like, okay. And I drive. He's like, 20 miles an hour. Blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. Yeah. And yeah, totally. Muzzle right here. He's like, ding, 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 ding. And, at the end of the day, he's just like fucking with me.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck you, man. And I'm all over there mumbling. And I'm like, I'll fuck him up. Pull that shit with me again. Like, fuck him. And it was the same thing. I'd be there sometimes. And so, like, in the mid and late 90s, like, I used to train jiu-jitsu and kickboxing, Muay Thai and stuff. And my family's a long line of boxers. Like, I've talked about, I think, previous podcasts. So, like, my great uncle, Kershaw Brittingham, he was sparring partners in the Marine Corps with Max Baer, who became the heavyweight champion of the world.
Yeah.
So my entire family boxes, and I'm like the little guy. And so, like, I could never compete. Like, my brother probably could have been a professional boxer, but he's too much of a fucking idiot. And, there's a lot of great boxers in my family. But I couldn't really compete because I was small. Small, like I'm 5'11", but like they're bigger dudes. And so I started taking like Muay Thai and then jiu-jitsu because I'm 7 years the youngest. So I was tired of getting like bullied by my family.
Yeah.
And so like I learned a little jiu-jitsu and some Muay Thai. Like I'll fuck them up because, they all box and stuff and they didn't even know how to use their feet.
Take it to the ground, baby.
Oh, and I take him to the ground. Like, I remember the first day, like, I choked my brother, and he started, like, begging me to let him go. He's 7 years older than me. He's way bigger.
Yeah.
And so I did that. And so some of the guys, within your place, you guys got, like, proper jiu-jitsu training.
Yeah, absolutely.
And every time I would go, it's like, try to take me down there and, like, choke me unconscious. I'm like, you motherfuckers.
Because we're always going 50%. Everybody, we're just going to go 50%. There's no such thing as 50%.
Like, I'm not on steroids. I'm 5'11", 195 pounds. Like, I ain't trying to do this. And, oh, my God. Just leaving there with, like, black eyes. And
we had a guy 42 years old decided he was going to be an MMA fighter. Right when they
our gay waiter was, they your
Right.
your place stopped him from fighting professionally.
So we had this one gentleman that I say gentleman, you know who you are, fool. He took 3 fights and when North Carolina allowed MMA fighting again. Yeah. He took 3 fights in 1 year, so he had to stay in that level of shape at 42 years old and went 2-1. Went 2-1 and fighting kids in their 20s
that
and was whipping that ass, man. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to beat a strong will. But also that me getting roughed up, that 50 pounds weight difference was not helpful.
No, it never is. Jiu-jitsu is for the smaller,
weaker
person. Yeah. Unless the bigger, stronger person knows jiu-jitsu also.
Bunch of Cro-Magnons. Oh my God, I had some of the worst times ever in that room. All right, guys. So I am sorry to interject this, but my professional hunter in Africa, just sent me a voice message, and I can't wait to hear it. I've not listened to it. Because then he sent me a text. He's like, why'd you download the fucking app? You're not going to listen to your message. God damn. And then I think we should maybe show the video that we made of him, and maybe we'll put it up right now. It's beautiful because he's being an ass. So let's just listen to it and see what the...
I just want to check in and see how you're doing. I see you being in Wyoming, having some seriously good fun there. I've been watching your thing on Instagram, answering the questions. Fuck, you seriously do not give a continental flying fuck about what you say on social media. It's fucking, geez, I'll be laughing listening to you answer those questions. I see sometimes you think like, what the fuck, when you see the question, but anyway. Looks like you might be coming back on the 15th of August. I am psyched up and ready to shoot some shit. I've had a few guys who sort of had like one animal, Anyway.
I shot 21 when I was there.
Looking forward to donning the Q shirt again and getting behind some animals there. Let us know how things are going over there, and we're looking forward to seeing you, man. It's going to be good fun. And I've got some clients arriving today into Joburg, and then we're chartering from there to the camp instead of flying commercial, which is quite cool. But they're coming in as a direct United flight now. Straight to Joburg, no via all these other fucking places. You can fly straight in.
36 hours.
You should be able to bring suppressors and everything you need, because I'm dead keen to see what everyone's talking about with these suppressors. So, gonna have a lot of questions for you when you arrive here. But hope all's good there. Keep safe, and we'll chat soon. Cheers, Kev.
Oh, what a sweetie.
He said psyched up. I thought he said sucked up, and I was like, tight. Africa sounds sick.
Radcliffe Robertson is his name, and what a fucking stud! This big Scottish bloke. I had the greatest time. I can't wait to get back. He's a good time, man.
Oh, yeah.
It's always like, who's your host? He was my host. He was a lot of fun.
You're going to put the video up, though, right?
I showed you that video,
you did.
We should show it now.
Bloop, bloop, bloop.
We going to post it up? You want to post it? I think we should. Let me text him. Yo.
I'm all about that because I'm not in the video.
I miss you.
I know we talked about it real briefly outside, but you were kind of saying that you're not necessarily like a gearhead, but like, did you have a favorite system and I'm sure you kind of bounced around between shops or different things, but did you have a favorite system that you were running when you were running around using stuff?
So, I mean, we got issued the 416.
Yep.
So, and I always ran a 10-inch. That's I never got the.
You didn't use the 14.5?
No, never did. Because I was one of the few people that ran a 1-4, red dot. So I get it. You can reach out there and touch somebody with that 14.
Well, that was
but
new.
I could
that
actually
was a long time ago.
see, with my 4-power, I could see. And I could.
Well, in Wyoming, our buddy Chad with an 8-power was shooting 1,250 yards.
Man. Right.
So 4-power cut it in half even.
So I could come in-
625 meters. Like, pop.
Right. And I could come in a room with that red dot on and go just as fast as an EOTech. And a lot of people would go, well, I've got the 3-power magnifier. And I go, okay, so your dot just became, I think those were 2.5 minute dots.
Well,
to-
some of them.
I mean,
Yeah.
real
Dot
quick
itself,
math. That's
yes.
like a 9 MOA dot now. So I would just turn the dot off, and I have a 4-power scope that was just as fast with the EOTech, and I mean that was my jam, man. I did that for years. I had that same 416 from 2005 to 2013.
Wow.
Never malfunctioned one time, unless I was shooting blue tip training ammo, like CERTA ammo. Never malfunctioned.
Never, not
That's
once.
awesome.
Not once. If it malfunctioned,
That's
it
a
was
testimony.
because I induced a malfunction. You know, where I made something brushed up against a bolt, or I was putting pressure on a magazine, and even then that was very, very uncommon.
Yeah.
That thing like ran like
It's
a
a good
sewing
gun.
machine, man.
HK
Yeah.
has an idea of what they're doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're smart.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, the 416, that's your favorite?
No, I mean it's what I had. That was what was issued, and I'll tell you, man, I stood by it. But I honestly don't have a favorite.
You
of
like the
anything.
SR25?
So I had an SR25, with 2 barrels. I went through school with the 20-inch barrel, but I usually carried the 16-inch barrel. And I was telling Kevin yesterday that we'd get a cold bore 0 and we'd throw clay pigeons out on the 800-meter berm, and 9 times out of 10 I would drill that clay pigeon, and it wasn't a testament to my shooting, but that gun, would shoot that, I mean, sub MOA easily. And if it was off left and right, well, that was usually me or some wind that I didn't
Yeah.
call, but it was a good
Yeah,
shooting
people
gun,
talk
man.
shit on nights, but that gun, that's a 14.5 inch. That's a sub half MOA gun.
Right, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was a
They shoot.
good shooting gun.
I mean, there are some that do. Yeah.
There are a lot of cool pictures that have recently come out of dudes running short SR25s,
Yeah.
especially unit guys.
Short, how short?
I would say 14.5 and shorter for SR25s. And it
Oh,
wasn't
wow.
it wasn't like the M110K yet or whatever, but it was just real short.
Oh,
And
yeah.
they look cool. I mean, I don't know how well they ran, but they look cool. And that's all that matters.
Well, I mean, that's when you get into that stuff. Reliability is number one.
Yeah.
So
Guns
and
gotta
we
work.
were talking about it, like, I get it, and the guys do the extreme long range and things like that, and that's your thing. I never engaged anything past 600 meters because, one, I have to identify them. 2, they're on the move, so you got to have your leads, and then 3, I have to make sure they have a weapon. I have to make sure they're a combatant. So me with a 8 to 12 second time of flight on a round, it's like, hey man, that guy could bend over, he could move, he could do all kinds of stuff before that bullet gets there. And
Right.
then what's the terminal ballistics when he does get there, when
Right.
the round does get there? So I was always like, hey man, it's like shooting an animal.
Yeah.
Like I don't want the animal
600
to suffer.
meters, unless you're really prepared.
Right.
600 meters where it should end.
Yeah, and I don't want the animal to suffer. I don't really care about the dude.
Hell yeah.
I don't know if I should say that. I don't care if we edit that or not. But that it's everything. Like I don't want to engage somebody that's not a
No,
combatant.
I mean, if you
right?
know it's a
what I mean?
terrorist,
Yeah.
like whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, animals totally different.
Yeah.
But I mean, some of the things apply, like what you're saying. 600 meters. If you train, if you practice, like that's a far shot, but it's not.
No.
Like you can make that shot every
Easily.
time. Yeah, and once you go beyond that, like that's where when I first left Remington, we started working on this. So this is a 260 SR25 18-inch barrel, and for me, for the unit, it made a ton of sense. Or special operations where you're not as restricted with ammunition, and you get better hit probability. And it's a 1,000-meter gun. Less recoil, like it made a lot of sense. And it seems like people are catching on. You see the commercial market now. where there's 260, there's 6.5. That's
Wind.
just wind.
I think
Yeah.
so.
Um,
Mask.
Yeah, so it's working, and so you you can have a lighter weight gun that doesn't recoil as much, shoots
Right.
flatter, and you got better hit probability. But I mean, I don't know. We see in the commercial market now, 6.5 Creedmoor is so popular,
Right.
and it's no surprise.
You just
Yes.
shot a bunch. I mean, I know you shot a lot of 8.6, but
I shot a lot of 8.6. I shot probably close to 1,000 rounds of 8.6. I shot 1,000 rounds of 6.5 Creedmoor in 2 weeks.
is your blue fix in 6.5 right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
16 inch. So I shot with that to 1,250 meters.
Did you hit it?
I would have said less than that had I not hit it. Yeah, I ain't no punk bitch. So we shot out all the way out to 2,000 meters, but I was
yeah,
using a
that's-
22-inch gun because I was a little bit of a punk bitch, apparently. No, so we shot a lot of that. I shot my 16-inch gun a lot because it's what I primarily hunt with in Africa for plains game. And so, yeah, I wanted to shoot a bunch.
It's
And
just nice to shoot. 6.5 is so nice. If you're shooting all day, it's nice to shoot.
If you're not using that big butt and you got a 6-pound gun, it's rough to shoot.
Yeah.
But,
It'll-
you know.
Well, 308 compared to the 308, 308 will kick your ass
Oh,
if you're shooting it all
308's
day.
way worse.
Yeah.
But yeah, I shot a lot. 6.5's great. It got a lot of trigger time, which I think is always important, no matter how good you think you are.
Mm.
And, you know, last time when I went to Africa a couple months ago, I didn't train up as much as I should have. And I regret that.
I saw you work in alternate positions and stuff like that in Wyoming.
Yeah,
because I know you
trying to
talked about
convince everyone to do that, because shooting prone or shooting from the bench, like, I mean, it's great. You got to get a good zero, but half my shots in Africa were with just unconventional position, and it's hard.
You always have to train alternate firing positions, you know, because that in the real life, not on a range, that's how stuff happens.
Yeah, it
You
is,
know?
and it, like if you know there's dudes you got to shoot, or there's an animal that you want, and
Right.
they don't always turn broadside, and you're not always in a place to be able to go prone and shoot it.
Right.
It's just like not a thing.
I mean, people don't train shooting from a climbing stand, you know, in
Yeah.
southern, you know, southeast hunting. I mean, we have climbers, and people
Yeah.
don't train with that. Even archery, they always train from the ground, but
Right.
you're never shooting from the ground. You're shooting from up there, and it
How many
affects
stories do you
everything.
hear of dudes saying like, "Yeah, I was climbing up on my stand and I saw 3 deer right there as I was climbing up," and it's
Yeah.
like, well, if you trained that, maybe you could have.
I almost got
I've
attacked
shot-
by an owl one time in a climber, man. I was with a bow, and I didn't have. I mean, you can't shoot an owl, and I'm about to come out of my stand,
Pussy.
and right, and something came over my head, and I mean, this owl goes like 10 yards away and turns and is just sitting there looking at me, and I'm going, dude, this thing will, you know, an owl will
They're-
kill you.
yeah, they're
they
gnarly,
will
dude.
kill you, man. So I've got a bow, and so I just took
Could've
out
shot
I
it.
just took out an arrow, and like
Jab
kind of came around the backside of the tree, you know, and I was like, I'm just gonna jab him, and because I'm here, fortunately he didn't kill me, you know.
Owls are sick.
Yeah, I killed one with a Range Rover once, got about 90. But
It committed suicide.
well, it did. It flew. I mean, it even swooped down. Like, boop. Bumper, feathers. Come back next day, somebody tied a balloon, get well soon balloon to it. Yeah, I mean, I've killed 2 deer in a climbing stand halfway up the tree before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's never a good position because you're trying to like bring a knee
No.
up and do some craziness.
One
you
was
know?
with a bow, one was with a rifle.
Yeah.
And I mean, best shot I ever made with a bow. And I think it's because like it was such an unconventional position, and I had to like lean around the tree, do all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I had to focus on like the shot, and I wasn't distracted by all these other things, and made a great shot, and very fortunate. Killed the deer. Only time I've ever heard deer scream. Heart shot.
Really?
Mhm. Never heard one making. Have you ever heard deer scream?
No.
No, I haven't
No,
either.
only once when I was hunting, and that was that time. Heart shot him. It was a massacre. Blood everywhere. He went like 2 yards and was dead, but he screamed when I hit him.
Shot placement. Shot placement is everything.
It's important.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. I got lucky, but I think like it was the most perfect shot I've ever made with a bow. Bow hunting's hard,
It is.
and
Really hard.
and I think it was just because I was having to do all these other things and wasn't distracted
Yeah.
because I was having to focus so much. Yeah.
Yeah, seeing dudes like that's all they do. Guys like Remy Warren and Steve Ranella, that they'll just go spend 3 months in the middle of the woods with just a bow, and they'll get 12 yards from whatever they're shooting. And I mean, they won't get it all the time, but like that's insane. Like you got to really like hunting to want to do that.
Let me tell you, man. Everybody needs to take up duck hunting. And I know that you're not a shotgun company, but I mean, we all sit here like we are now. We're having drinks, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, man, here's some ducks. Everybody shuts up. They call them in. You shoot the ducks. Dogs go get the ducks. You go back to laughing and joking like you're doing right now, man.
Yeah, duck hunting's fun.
Yeah.
I've never been. I
Gotta
hate
get
shooting
it.
shotguns.
Oh, it's a good time. It's a social event. Yeah. Oh.
I always just pictured it like being like turkey hunting, where you just sit under a tree and shut up the whole thing.
No.
You don't have to be quiet with duck hunting.
Mm-mm.
But duck hunting, so I've done a lot of poor man duck hunting, which is not what Tom's talking
Seagulls?
about. That's how you zero your gun when you're over in Iraq.
Right.
But no, but we have to put out our own decoys, and it's freezing, and it's still dark, and you're putting them out there. It sucks.
So I didn't tell you about that part. If you're not going to some camp, some guided hunt, yeah, you've got to do that. You've got to like break ice and stuff.
It's hard. It's hard. If you don't have a dog, you go retrieve all the ducks.
Fish
man.
net. If you're in a boat, you get you a net like for fishing.
So, 14 deployments.
Yeah, man.
All right. So when did you retire?
2016, December of 2016.
It's a while.
Yeah.
5 years. You're working. Everything's good.
Like my body?
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm jacked up, but I keep like keep on keeping on. I'm like Joe Dirt. Life's a garden, dig it.
Why do you think guys within special operations there's such a high rate of cancer?
I don't, and there is. That's not even a made up thing.
No, I mean,
it could be
with guys you
lead,
worked with, I know tons of guys
lots of
that are our
guys.
age that are
Yeah.
dead.
And
from that.
I think we've gotten smarter on the lead. A lot smarter.
So
I know
you think
when-
a lot of it's just the
just
lead from
lead.
shooting?
Well, not only shooting, but some of the flashbangs we used to use. I
Yeah.
mean, it was just lead, and you'd run
Oh,
in
yeah.
there and like lead. But we've gotten a lot smarter. They've taken baseline stuff when people are coming in and kind of monitor that.
Tracking 'em, yeah.
I think that, sadly, with a lot of the experimental munitions, specialty munitions, it's kind of like, A, B, C, and D. We didn't really anticipate that. And honestly, some of it is you're supposed to wear protective gear that you may or may not have decided to wear.
Yeah.
So
Sad. I mean, it's a lot of young guys that have passed away.
yeah, good guys. And
Oh, yeah.
So I'm doing great.
Yeah.
It's just your standard knees, hip, back. You've just been doing stupid stuff for way too long. It's not the years, it's the miles.
Think it's from jumping.
Well, I mean, it could be me jumping because I'm just gonna land like a sack of shit anyway. A lot of it is like, hey man, my gear. If I was carrying a 5.56 rifle, my gear was 68 pounds. I weighed it. That's body armor and rifle, no rucksack or anything like that. If I was carrying a 308, that was 74 pounds. Right. So you're in that.
How many
all
spare
day
mags
long.
you carrying? Just 7?
So no, I ain't carrying 7 mags, man. Make them shots count. I would carry 4 mags and one in the well, and then we would have like a go bag or something because you just couldn't. There's not enough real estate for everything you had to carry.
Because you're not going out with a big ass ruck, are you?
No, I'm not going out with a ruck, but we would have a ruck with extra stuff. to resupply. So
Even
if it
5.56, you're carrying 4 mags.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, 5 mags total, 1 in the gun, and I didn't do a ready mag.
I'm
I
carrying
didn't do
8.
that. Yeah. There was always a resupply. Now, if we were going out going, hey, man, we're not going to be out for a while, even then, I don't have enough real estate on my kit because there's a compromise. I can be weighted down and not move fast. I can't climb a wall because my gear sticks out, 6 inches from my chest, and I can't get over a wall. I can't do something. Or I can streamline it, make shots count, but I have a bag that we've carried and we drop it at a breach or we drop it somewhere. But you have to, that's the good thing about special operations units is like we can assess what we need, what we don't need, and tailor that load for what you're doing,
Well, how important do you think post 9/11 special forces were composed to Big Army?
Well, I would never make that comparison because it's 2 different missions. So
If there weren't special operations, what would have happened post 9/11?
well, I mean, I'm not a genie, man. I can't say that. Those situations were for special operations. They and I'm speaking specifically about Afghanistan. Those are like, hey man, we got tribal people, we got people to go in. We can do A, B, C, and D. Iraq, that was Big Army. Like the thing is like it's 2 totally different missions. There are things that the Big Army, the big military, cannot do that we can do because we're smaller, more agile. We can flex a lot because of training and the experience of the individuals. But hey, man, I'm this many guys. When we need a battering ram, I've got 3rd ID over here. Those dudes are coming through and they are wreaking havoc. And it's what's your desired end state? What do you have to deal with? And then you choose the correct force for that mission. So I'm not going to cut a cake with a chainsaw, right? But I'm also not going to cut down a tree with a butter knife. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What the terrorist deck of cards?
Yeah, man. Well, that technically wasn't terrorists. That was the Ba'ath Party. That was Saddam's regime, right? So at the beginning, that was the goal, and then AMZ came along, and Al Qaeda in Iraq happened.
So let's say the deck of cards.
Yeah, a deck of cards.
A deck
with
of
some
cards.
shitheads on it.
A
So
target deck,
there's
if
50,
you will.
52 of them.
Mm-hmm.
How many of them did special operations take down?
Now, if we're talking about the Al Qaeda network, we took down everyone we could find. The Ba'ath Party network. Some of that was conventional forces, and some of that was us, and some of it was us that credit got given to, conventional forces because, hey man, it's what you do. Like we kind of do this over here, but it got to the point of like, hey man, we will be on you every night. Every night you cannot rest because we will be there. There will be somebody from the organization, the greater organization that includes, the Navy and the Army and stuff like that. Like, hey, you will never rest because we will be hunting you.
Do you credit the 7 to 10 missions a night for special operations with being able to stop a lot of these guys? And
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean that's
because
unbelievable.
Every time you would, the dude in charge of Baghdad, for instance, you roll him up. Well, you've already got his replacement. Everybody knows who that replacement is. Well, hey man, we're going to roll that guy up, 2 weeks prior, or he knows it's coming, and it was a big network disruption, and it got to the point of like, okay, the private that joined Al Qaeda 2 days ago, you're in charge, and that's what it boiled down to.
Do you see a way that special operations does not grow, given the I don't know when this really started mainstream, probably Vietnam, where guerrilla warfare and like non-uniform forces are opposing us, and you have to take on special tactics and operations to defeat them. It's not like World War II where everybody's wearing a uniform.
So,
like, what happens from here on out?
So from here on out is, and I'm by no stretch of the imagination in some military think tank. It's just what I see is when we have near peer, a near peer adversary, and that means like no joke state sponsored, and I would use China as an example, right? Like special operations, there's things for them to do, but they're definitely not the main effort. That is like tanks and all kinds of stuff. In those situations, there are special operations missions, but they're definitely not the main effort. When you're dealing with these insurgencies in smaller scale stuff, well, yeah, that's when you have to use special operations. It takes an insurgent to catch an insurgent.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's where I wonder, because it does seem like China and Russia are the next adversaries.
Yeah.
That's different.
Yeah, but they've always been the next adversaries. And I honestly, I don't have a security clearance anymore, so I don't know what they got going on.
Yeah, I mean, but it's true. But, but then things like whatever, Bosnia pops up.
Yeah.
Iraq pops up, Afghanistan.
Even the small, like the Abu Sayyafs, the Al-Shabaabs, like the smaller groups all around, like those grow bigger. Like, it's a hot topic right now.
How big do you have to be to make an impact?
Right.
Because like 9/11.
Right.
Yeah.
Once they figured it out, I mean, it was genius. Say what you will, it was absolutely genius what they did. Now, I will tell you that, like, you talking about Al-Shabaab, stuff like that, we're not the only country that has interests in other countries. Mm-hmm. So in some of these countries, you have Russians and you have French and you have stuff like that, countries like that have an interest in that country, and they are intervening because, like, hold on, man, stop.
Yeah.
You're messing up our money right now. Stop it. The Russians, God love them, man. Their tactics are like, we don't care how many civilian casualties we're going to get. We will kill everybody. And I've seen it happen. Like, ooh, dang, that went sideways quickly,
I just saw a video yesterday of Russians and Americans, I think they were in Syria, encountering each other, and it's never, I don't think it, as far as the records show, it doesn't ever get like super hostile, but they're just fucking with each other. Like it was a bunch of, like, it looked like MRAPs driving down the road, and then Russian like BTRs and shit came out of and they're trying to block the road, just like messing with each other, playing like bumper cars. And it's like, it's so strange because there's that relationship of like, okay, I see you're just trying to be a nuisance, but also we're like we're ally, but we're kind of adversarial. Like it's a weird thing. And it's strange to see how things will progress forward.
I don't think anybody wants like some huge, revisit Cold War thing. And this is just me speculating. This is just me. But we're always going to go right up to that point. And it's a game of chicken. Who's going to blink first? And I have the luxury of sitting here with you guys, not having to blink or not blink.
Yeah, Jesus. Yeah,
it's a hot topic right now. But like with the drawdown and everything, Afghanistan, every bit of progress, whatever progress you want to call it, that's been made in Afghanistan, like the Taliban controls over 60% of Afghanistan now. So it's like, when does it ever stop? But does that inspire those groups like Al-Shabaab, the Abu Sayyafs, like did Boko Haram, do they all grow? Do they get bigger? Or do you think is it always going to be the same?
So in my opinion, what it is if I'm a terrorist organization, and sometimes we don't even know what their end goal is. Me being a soldier, I always want to know what the end goal is. Like, what am I fighting for? What's the commander's intent? But they know you really just have to outweight the United States for an election, because we're Americans, man. Our attention span is like,
it's 4 years long.
Like, wait. I need a cheeseburger, and like, okay, we're tired of messing with this, and we'll lose interest, and that's
what's happening.
That's what happens, But the thing is there's still people there doing the thing,
right?
But the American public loses interest, and then once they lose interest, and elections happen, and funding gets, whatever,
Wait, now? Oh,
Yeah,
God.
what are you doing now?
So we got into all this. You're retired. So now, what the hell are you doing?
So, I play a lot of golf. I say I play a lot of golf.
You
I'm
moved out of
terrible.
Southern Pines.
I moved out of Southern Pines. I live in Huntsville, Alabama. Roll Tide, y'all. Roll Tide. Right now, there's people on the podcast going, yeah, Roll Tide, Roll Tide, Roll Tide, roll. My wife's doing it right now when she's watching. I work for True Velocity Ammunition out of Garland, Texas. I've got a human performance company that my partner and I run.
What's it called?
Onda Elite.
What?
Onda Elite Performance.
Onda?
Yeah.
What is this name?
It's some kind of Greek thing, man. It makes sense.
Jesus.
It's on the website. It says what it means, man.
Oh, God.
I've been messing with you. My brain's
God.
like
Onda Elite. All right,
Yeah.
human performance.
Yeah, but I'm still in the industry with True Velocity composite cased ammunition, and really, man, I am just enjoying being retired. Every once in a while, I'm like, man, I could go overseas and carry a gun for a living again.
Man, you
and
too
I'm
old.
like, my
You too
back
old.
hurts. I can't do that shit.
Oh, they got Advil over there. I'm gonna need
Right.
some of that ibuprofen.
Right.
Well, True Velocity, so it's polymer case.
We call it composite case,
Okay.
but it's
bad.
polymer, man. Composite.
Well,
yeah.
It's
Composite.
been in the news
Yeah.
a little
I ain't
bit
got to
recently.
pigeonhole you.
Yeah, we are deep
Y'all-
in the news
Y'all
now,
doing
man.
big stuff.
We're doing big stuff. The NGSR program, and
So it's the new machine gun.
so what NGSR is supposed to replace this is the next generation squad rifle, supposed to replace the M4, and then they have the next generation squad automatic rifle to replace the SAW.
249. Yeah.
Yep. So it's in 6.8. And we have,
270.
yeah, he puts the American
Conversions,
stuff. I
yeah.
can't do the math real quick in my head, man. But yeah, so that's what we're doing, man. We're in my opinion being very successful with that. We can the
Well, what's good about polymer case?
so
Who cares?
you care. The deal is, like, with machine guns and stuff like that, we can lighten the load by 30%. So you got aircraft with belt fed on station.
That's a lot
You
with
know,
machine
that's
guns.
A lot of
Rifles,
weight.
mate, you carrying 4 mags like fucking
Right.
Hawkeye
So-
Smith
so
over here. Who
do-
cares? But
do
you
you
carrying
know-
a bunch of ammo.
So the deal is, like, if you decrease a soldier's load by 30%, we'll just carry 30% more
Right,
ammo.
yeah.
That's just
Yeah.
what happens, But we can load that because of the way it's loaded, and it's not brass. We can do things with composite that you can't do with brass.
So
is we
forming
can load it as accurately,
the inside.
if not more accurately, than hand loads.
and you can shape the inside of the case and
We
stuff
can
like
do
that. 'cause
whatever
it's-
needs to
it's
be done with
injection
the
molded.
case. So if you called me
'cause
up and
brass
goes,
is all turned.
right, if
Yeah.
you called me up and said, hey man, I need some, 8.6.
8.6
If you called me up
blackout.
and said, hey, I need 8.6, we'd go, give me some projectiles and what gun's it going to be used in, and you know, what's your barrel twist, what's this, and we can actually tune that cartridge to your gun and your desired effect downrange.
Prove it.
Is it the future?
It is absolutely the future.
Commercially.
Commercially, our commercial line's coming out, like it may already be out.
Why ain't you got me some shit? I'm a straight up killer.
I don't have any.
I'm a straight up killer.
I understand that. As soon as I get some, you'll have some. Promise.
I'm so calm of the commercial
I'm gonna
industry.
call Texas right now and be like, "Hey man, we need to send Brittingham some ammo."
I mean, if you want
8.6,
if you want some shit shot, like it might have walked into range, but it's at least limping out. It might fall down. No, man, that's exciting. I mean,
it really is like because the composite isn't a conductor. Your barrel life goes up because it doesn't heat up. You know, it doesn't heat up. We tried to do a cook-off test one time, and we could not get the ammo to cook off. It didn't melt or anything like that. It just would not cook off because the heat from the chamber would not make the round go off, man.
Do you think that the ammo's been kind of the limiting factor in a lot of innovation over the last however long, basically? Like, I mean, you talk a lot about the delivery system as far as the shape of the rounds and the cartridges and everything like that. And do you think that, like you're saying, it's the future, but that's seemingly a limiting factor, and now you're able to do other things?
Right.
I think more will come from this, potentially.
So you get smart guys. Absolutely. So you get smart guys, unlike me, that because you don't spin brass, you can control the inner case, the case capacity. So you can form it. Yeah, you can form it any way you want.
Right.
So you can make a jet if you know if you made like some kind of concave
right.
inside, you know, so you can increase muzzle velocity without increasing powder load or anything like that. You can increase the thickness of the case, which makes the inner case tighter. Therefore, you get a cleaner powder burn.
Right.
You know, there's no, you can't hear that powder shaking around in there, man.
So then it's fairly safe to assume that because you're able to do that, and because you're able to change both the inside and outside shapes of the case itself, that it only makes sense that from that you're going to start seeing different shaped chambers, which means different shaped guns, which means, so it seems like it's going to kickstart
the NGSR, the 6.8, we don't have a neck on the case, because the neck is the weakest part of that cartridge. Well, the only reason you have a neck is so you can crimp the projectile in there.
Yeah.
Since we don't crimp, you know, it just comes up and there it is. So now you've changed chambers, you've changed the way in all actuality, you changed the way the cartridge releases the projectile.
Right.
Instead of it being pushed out, then it has to be, it just kind of releases it.
Yeah.
So your concentricity is down to like 0.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we hit standard deviation in single digits, and that is machine loaded manufactured.
Right.
You know. So it's every time I go there were certain things that would come up in testing and we go, man, we didn't even think of that.
Right.
And there it is.
That's awesome.
So, I mean, a weapon, these rifles laying on the table, they're a system of systems.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, the magazine has to do certain things for it to fire accurately. You've got a trigger, you've got how well is the barrel, you know, made, how is the rifling made, and then how is the projectile, how is everything, you know, so yeah, it spun brass, it's a limiting factor, in a system of systems. At the end of the day, we'll take a couple of things out of the equation, and now we'll get it back to the shooter, and the shooter will be, oh man, that was just some terrible. Nah, man, you just kind of suck a little bit. Yeah.
Well, you say single digit SDs, like my man is making a shot on 8.6 subsonic 1,001 mil target every shot. I'm just saying.
What was your standard deviation?
30.
You don't know. You didn't track it.
I did.
Did you?
I don't know why you're talking shit to me like I'm
But
some
these were
fucking
hand
rookie.
loads, though, right?
They were,
Okay.
and we had Doppler, and we measured every one.
Mm-hmm.
35. It's hard. Subsonic, we're doing a lot of
Oh yeah.
odd things.
It's all
So it'll end up being 20 or less.
yeah.
But if I could get single, I could get probably 80, 90% hits at 1,000.
That's awesome.
I'm telling you,
Because,
single digits.
long range, reading the wind, that's the thing that's tough.
that is what it all
And it
comes back to. Is I can
Changes
teach
so
anybody.
fast.
I can teach anybody 4 fundamentals of marksmanship. I can teach anybody that. It's when we get into, okay, not only do you have to call the wind, what'd you say, 1,000 meters? Okay, it's doing 85 different things all the way down.
And it changes in
like
2 seconds.
that.
Yeah,
And
it's
but
tough.
at that distance, your max ord isn't even the mirage that we're reading down here on the ground. It may be 50 feet in the air. And people don't understand, like, hey man, and then it's like, okay, your projectile, what BC, what muzzle velocity, this, that, and the other. Now I've got to do the math to call that wind, and
Yeah.
it just changed.
'Cause
The
it's
wind reading is and you know, my man,
160 feet of drop.
I'm gonna tell you the most talented wind reader I've ever seen is Emil Praslik, and that dude's like a wind speaker, And
Is it bending?
he was. I don't know where he is now,
Yeah.
but he's in the industry. But I mean that reading the wind and doing the quick
It's tough.
math is tough, man.
It's tough.
I mean-
8.6 is going to change shit. I mean, you're not from the South, so the Southeast, well, all East Coast. I mean, most of your hunting shots are inside
300
meter.
meter. I mean, I've never
Definitely
taken a
within
300
100.
meter shot. In the Southeast.
Yeah,
100 meters.
Yeah.
And they're still ducking behind pine trees when you do it. Yeah.
yeah. So it changes stuff, and then my hope is always for special operations, like we do stuff that translates, makes sense, and it's easier
Right.
to kill terrorists. Like, yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm the most patriotic guy ever, but like I love America and I hate terrorists, and to me it's just a choice. It's like us
Right.
or them. Like, okay, let's
Yeah.
get it, man.
I'm all about me. I'm gonna let you know, man. I'm all about me
Yeah,
and mine,
selfish.
Yeah.
But I hope we're doing some things that matter,
Yeah.
and not just on the commercial market. But we'll see. But the polymer case ammo, man, that's exciting. I'm happy for you.
Yeah, man. It's doing very well, and we are super excited about it. And the video you were referring to is what we have found is the muzzle velocity that we need to maintain to accomplish the requirement. Man, it's a high muzzle velocity, and they were really concerned, they being the program office, about chamber pressure. And what we have found is we can accomplish the requirement with the same chamber pressure as these weapons here.
Yeah,
So all you've
60,000
got to
PSI,
do, so all we've got to do is do a barrel swap. So these weapons here do a barrel swap into 6.8, and now you have that capability of the requirement. Now
All
that's
about
not to
barrel
say that's not to say that the NGSR program doesn't need to go on, because we can do the capability with a barrel swap, because those are to replace 5.56. That those still need to go on. But in the interim, if we want this capability now, we can like change some barrels on existing weapons and have this out.
Yeah. Do you have any do you have a conventional gun chambered in anything for the polymer case stuff?
I
that you've
don't.
lost?
I've got a 6.5, but I don't have any 6.5 ammo at the house. I'm telling you, the ammo that we have coming off the line, it's already gone. It's already out there, you know. And like I said, our commercial line is if it's not already out, it's coming out like within weeks.
Maybe they need to let you go to Africa with me and we'll shoot some stuff with
I mean, that sounds terrible. And if True Velocity is watching, it's like, I'll be willing. I would take one for the team.
Let's do it. Like Hornady generally sponsors my hunting. But
Yeah.
if you guys got something new you want to do it, I will get after it. Like I will
You'll
shoot
take one
anything.
for the team.
I
right?
will. I mean, I'm a whore.